Hello there everyone, EduCrapPlays here. Welcome back to another video, and on today's video we are going to be doing part 5 of reading Master Slayer's story, The Crystal Ark. And I just realized if you guys watched the end of the video, I made a stupid mistake of I got myself mixed up. And I thought I got finished with chapter 1, but apparently I'm still on chapter 1 because chapter 1 is pretty long. That's what my friend Master Slayer told me. But yeah, I'm still on chapter 1. So yeah, let me check how many parts there are. How do I check? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there are 6 parts for chapter 1. So that means I gotta finish part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and part 6 of chapter 1. So, let's get started reading. Let's stop wasting time, and yeah. Richard woke with part 2, The Power Inside. Richard woke with a start, the sheets tangled around his legs and sweat clinging to his skin. The room was quiet but not peaceful. The kind of silence felt earned. This felt like the world was holding his breath. His head throbbed, his memories were scrambled, shadows flickering, coming towards him, whispers in the dark, the pressure of something watching him. None of it made sense, just fragments. He sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his eyes. What the hell happened last night? He barely remembered. Falling asleep in the kitchen, the smell of burnt toast greeted him. His own failed attempt at breakfast. He shoved it aside and poured cereal into a chip bowl, chewing immensely as the static of his thoughts refused to clear. The house creaked around him, too quiet again. Then his mom stepped in, her presence calm but warm. She glanced at him over a mug of coffee, her voice but pointed. Hey, just be careful at the gym, okay? And don't stay too long this time. He looked up, caught a flicker of concern in her eyes. I won't, he said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his face. She lingered like she wanted to say something else but didn't. As Richard pulled his jacket on and headed for the door, something stopped him. A small framed photo on the shelf by the coat rack. His mama with him and his uncle, his breath caught in his throat. He stepped closer, thumb grazing the edge of the glass. I miss you, Mama, he whispered, voice cracking. The grief punched him in the gut without warning. It was always there, quiet waiting, but sometimes it hit harder. This morning, it felt like it was screaming. You were taken too soon, he said, eyes burning. I don't know what's happening or what's coming, but I'll graduate. I'll finish what you started. You believed in me when no one else did. He wiped out his face, sniffed, and took a long breath, the kind that didn't really help. I'll make you proud. He straightened his back and opened the door. The air outside was crisp, the sky gray, with the promise of more rain. Whatever last night was, it wasn't over, but for now, he just needed to move. As Richard pulled into the parking lot, his eyes locked onto a scene that made his stomach twist. A man being beaten by 2 others near a convenience store. The dim street lights barely lit the area, but Richard could see enough. The man on the ground curled up, groaning in pain, while the attackers kicked him without remorse. Richard's jaw clenched for a moment. He glanced toward the gym's entrance, hoping for a distraction. Instead, the sign on the door read closed. He let out a frustrated breath, dropping his bag into the car. Perfect timing, he muttered to himself before slamming the door shut. Turning back to the scene, his mind was already made up. Striding across the pavement, he called out, "Hey, leave him alone." The attackers paused, their attention snapping to Richard. One of them, thin and wary with a cruel sneer, stepped forward, sizing him up. "Well, look at this," the man said, spreading his arms mockingly. "Some hero comes to save the day." Richard stopped a few feet away, glaring. "What the hell is wrong with you? He's on the ground. You think this makes you tough?" The man grinned, shaking his head. "Big words, pal. You don't know who you're messing with." "I know exactly who I'm messing with." Richard shot back, his voice cold. A couple of punks with nothing better to do. The second thug, bulkier and quieter, cracked his knuckles, his eyes narrowing. "You should mind your business before you get hurt." Richard ignored him, his gaze locked on the sneering man. "This is my business now." "Your funeral?" The worried thug, reaching into his jacket. Richard froze as the man pulled out a gun, the weapon gleaming faintly under the flickering streetlight. The The tension in the air thickened, the sound of the wind, the only thing breaking the silence. Walk away, the thug growled, his voice low, weapon aimed steady. This doesn't concern you. Richard took a step forward, unfazed, a gun. That's what you're hiding behind? He scoffed. Do you think that makes you dangerous? Keep talking and you'll find out. The man snapped, his finger twitching near the trigger. Richard didn't flinch. You're not gonna shoot me. Doug smirked, faltered. What makes you so sure? Because people like you don't pull the trigger, Richard said. His voice sharp, steady. You wave a gun around because it makes you feel in control. It makes you feel bigger. But the truth is, you're scared. You're a coward with a weapon. Shut up, the man barked. But Richard kept going, his tone unwavering. Go ahead, then prove me wrong. Shoot, Richard challenged, his eyes locked on the thugs. But you won't, because deep down you know what happens. Next, cops show up, you go to jail, and all this. It wasn't worth it, so what's it gonna be? The gunfire where everything slowed. Richard's body jerked to the side with inhuman reflexes, the bullet slicing through the air where his head had been. He lunged forward, and without thinking, his leg snapped into the thug's stomach. The man flew 6 feet backward, the other one charged. Richard dodged every swing like he'd done it 1,000 times. His body moved on an instinct, like something was guiding him. He grabbed the man's wrist mid-punch and hurled him into a concrete wall with a sickening crack. Then silence. Richard stood there, chest heaving, heart pounding like a war drum. What the hell just happened? He breathed. Then he saw the man they attacked. No, Anthony. He rushed to his side, kneeling. Hey, in there. I'm getting you help. Anthony's face was bloodied, one eye swollen. Rich, they hurt me so bad. I tried helping some kid, then they turned on me. You did good, Richard said, voice tight. I've got you. He dialed 911, staying by Anthony's side as red and blue lights painted the lot. Anthony sat propped up in a hospital bed, brush and bandage. Richard leaned against the wall, arms crossed, still buzzing with leftover adrenaline. Thanks for stepping in, Anthony rasped. You saved my ass out there. Richard's jaw clenched. You're welcome, man. This town is rotten. So much bad stuff happens here. Sometimes I want to leave, but part of me wants to help. As they left the hospital, Anthony thanked Richard. I appreciate you stepping in, man. I can't believe you took those guys down for me. Richard didn't speak right away. Then I don't think normal anymore. Anthony blinked. What? I was being chased last night by something red, a shadow with red eyes. I fell into this creek and found a crystal. Since then, I don't know. I've moved faster than bullets, man. I threw a guy into a wall, Richard replied, his words shaking. Anthony just stared. You're serious? He finally said. Yeah, I don't even know. I've just figured out how to fly, and now this crazy burst of strength, I felt like I was something else, Richard stammered, trying to process it all, his mind racing as the confusion overwhelmed him. I don't know, but that sounds like something out of a movie, Anthony said, still shocked. But I saw you fight. It's real. Yeah, even I was shocked, but it's real. I'm not lying. Let me show you. He lifted off the ground, hovering effortlessly. Anthony's jaw. Oh my fucking god, this has to be something from a dream. How is this real? Anthony stammered. Richard sighed. I thought it was a dream too, but it's not. I might be the only one with this power, and I don't know what to do with it. You should keep it hidden, Anthony advised, his voice serious. If people find out, it could cause trouble. Richard paused, his mind racing. Yeah, you're right, but what about the government? We're not exactly in the future. How would they even react to this? His voice carried a mix of concern and confusion, struggling to grasp the reality of the situation. I don't know, Anthony admitted, scratching his head, but maybe you should think about doing something with this. You could, I don't know, become a superhero or something. He said it with a mix of uncertainty and a hint of excitement, as if the idea was just starting to form. Richard shook his head. Being a hero is hard work. I've seen it in the movies, but in real life, I have no idea what I'm doing, and these powers, they're so new. Maybe you could train, get better, Anthony suggested. Richard nodded slowly. Yeah, you're right, but this is also overwhelming. It's real life, not a movie, Anthony. You need to understand this is beyond what we've seen in our life. When Richard stepped through the door, the house felt still. His mom was in the kitchen. I had to take Anthony to the hospital, Richard explained, his voice tinged with worry. He wasn't doing well, but I think he'll be okay. That was the kind of thing you did, Richard. I just hope he'll be fine, his mom said softly, her voice carrying a mix of concern and pride. "He will be," Richard replied, though his tone was distant, his mind clearly elsewhere. His mom's shoulders sagged as she let out a quiet sigh. "We still need to prepare for the funeral. It's in 2 days." "I know," Richard said, his voice heavy with grief. He paused, his gaze dropping to the floor. "I miss her already." His mom placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, offering comfort without words. For a moment, the house felt unbearable still. The weight of their loss settling between them like an unseen presence. Richard slipped out to the backyard, his mind buzzing with confusion and curiosity. He needed to figure out what these new abilities were, how far they went. Tentatively, he clenched his fist and swung at a brick wall, watching in shock as it shattered to pieces with one. "Holy!" Richard gasped, his breath coming fast. He stared at his hand. He stared at his hand, trying to comprehend. What had he just done? This can't be real. How did I even do that? He looked around, half expecting someone to pop out and tell him it was all some kind of sick joke. Then a neighbor stepped outside, drawn by the noise. "What was that noise?" the neighbor called. Richard's heart skipped a beat. "Crap," he muttered to himself. His eyes darted around, panic settling. "I need to get out of here." He quickly ducked behind the fence, barely avoiding being seen. "There's definitely something I need to learn about this," he whispered to himself, still trying to grasp the overwhelming strength. He used his flight, which was hard to use, but he managed to fly away as flew away from the area, searching for a scheduled spot to train away from prying eyes. After a short while, he spotted an abandoned warehouse in the distance. It was perfect, secluded, empty, and wide open. Landing inside, Richard took in the vast empty space, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. This place is abandoned, but it should work for trading still. There's something unsettling about it. The silence feels too heavy, he thought to himself, a creeping unease crossing his face. Something about the place didn't sit right, but he pushed the thought aside. Without thinking, he reached down and lifted a nearby car with one hand, his muscles straining for just a moment. Before it seemed almost weightless, the heft of the car, once a heavy burden, felt like nothing now. He shot across the warehouse, his body blurring as he pushed his speed to the limit, feeling the air rush past him in a roar. The silence of the space only amplified the thunderous sound of his movement. He changed direction mid-flight, soaring through the air with ease. His feet found the walls as if they were made for him, and he pushed off with a force that sent him twisting and flipping, defying gravity in a way that felt almost too effortless. Landing lightly on the ground, Richard locked his gaze on the punching bag hanging in the corner. His knuckles tightened as he drew back his fist, aiming at the heavy canvas. With a single fluid motion, he launched a punch. The force was nothing short of brutal. His fist collided with the bag with such power that it sent careening across the room, smashing into the far wall with a deafening crash. Dust settled in the air, and the weight of the moment hit him. His strength, his control, everything was more than it should have been. "Damn it," Richard muttered, frustration creeping into his voice. He tried again, this time being more careful, but no matter what, his triple strength made everything fly out of. "This crystal enhanced my body, but I need to get used to it." He paused, rubbing his temples in frustration. "I can't keep breaking everything. I need to learn to control this." Suddenly he felt something to take control of him. He shot into the air, his body twisting as if manipulated by an unseen force. The crystal glowed ominously. Hey, Richard shouted, struggling to his limbs. "What's happening?" Just as suddenly he was back in control, crashing to the ground. He looked at the crystal, panic rising. What was that? It was like a force pulling me up. Inside his mind, a voice, soft, cold, "Wrong. You are more than flesh. This world is dying. It will become its cure." Who are you?" Richard shouted, spinning in midair. "We will become a force beyond reckoning." The voice hissed, low and vicious. "Life will crumble by its own design. The world will drown in its own light, and we will show it the darkness denied." Richard's pulse spiked, the words slithering through his skull like poison. "Destroy life," Richard growled, his voice shaking. "Are you insane? That's not what this is for." The crystal pulsed in his chest, blood red and alive. "I don't care what you want," Richard snapped. "I'm not some weapon. I won't be used. I'll protect people, not wipe them out." For a moment, silence, no response, but the silence felt worse, like something was smiling in the dark. Richard stumbled back, the warehouse spinning around him. His breath hitched. He didn't know what the hell that thing was, but it was inside him, and it wasn't done. Richard returned home. He stepped inside. The chill ran down Richard's spine. The air felt wrong, stiffing, heavy, like the house itself was holding his breath. Something wasn't right. His fingers curled into fists as he took a slow step forward. His sensors on high alert, the usual comfort of home, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the distant ticking of a clock felt drowned out by an eerie silence and a sound of controlled breath, measured, steady. Someone was there. Richard's stomach twisted, his body moved on instinct, pressing himself against the wall as he crept toward the living room. Every step was slow, deliberate. His heart pounded harder with each inch forward. He peeked around the corner, his breath. A man stood in the center of the room, rigid and unmoving, his back half turned. In his outstretched hand, a gun pointing straight at Richard's mother. A cold wave of panic crashed over him. His muscles locked up. His mother stood frozen, wide-eyed, fear gripping her like a vice. "What do I do?" Richard's mind screamed. His hands shook. His breathing quickened. "Fight him, you idiot." The voice in his head was sharp, commanding. "Shut up, I'm not dumb. I'll handle this." Richard shot back, his own thoughts warning him. He forced a breath down, steadying himself. His body moved before his mind caught up. Bursting into the room, he squared his shoulders, masking his fear. His voice came out strong, unwavering. "Hey, leave her alone or I'll call the cops." The man looked up and sneered. Only we could see the dark shadow, not showing his face. "Oh, look, your son is here. What a surprise, isn't it?" He chuckled, his gun still trained on Richard's mom. "Please leave her alone. We don't have to do this," Richard pleaded, his heart pounding. The man smirked. "You can't stop me, kid. You're just a normal boy." Suddenly, the crystal took over because of Richard's frightened and furious emotion. Richard's fist changed out, striking him hard and sending him crashing into the wall, but the man quickly recovered, using his power to slam Richard into the kitchen and barricade him there. "Oh," the man mused, chuckling. "You've got quite a punch." The man then stepped towards Richard's mom. "Losing patience is one thing I must say. I'm sorry for this, whatever you are, but my promise still stays with me until the end, and I will act on it. Don't worry, you'll find peace soon as well." Then without hesitation, he turned and shot Richard's mom. "That show who the kids are messing with," the man said, his voice cold and resolute. "If no one understands that, then no one deserves to know what I'm about to do." He paused, eyes narrowing as he looked at the barricade. "Seems like his mother's too busy trying to make a sense of her own decisions. Wasting time like that is dangerous, crucial even." His fist clenched. "But if she hadn't joined me, she would have exposed everything. That's why I have to take the odds." He took a breath, regret filling his gaze. "I'm sorry, kid, but no one deserves death. Trust me, but this is the only way to escape those who keep pushing the wrong choices. May God rest your soul," he whispered, stepping back, his eyes still locked on the barricade. Richard shot and exploded with energy, breaking free from the barricade and rushing into the room, but it was too late. The man was gone. Looking around, he saw his mom on the ground. Richard dropped to his knee, his heart pounding. "Mom, no, stay with me. Don't die on me. I'll get help. Just hold on." Her voice was weak, barely a whisper. "I'm bleeding out, Richard, please, listen." Richard looked at her with tears going down his face. "You must stay true to yourself," she said, her voice shaking. "Don't lose focus on who you are." She paused, struggling to catch her breath. "You need to keep going. Stay strong, no matter what happens. You're going to be okay, I promise." Her eyes softened, filled with pain. "Please don't make the wrong choice. I want you to succeed, even if I don't make it." She coughed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just remember, you have heart. People need to understand that." Panicking, Richard grabbed his phone, urgently dialing for an ambulance. They arrived in minutes, rushing his mother away. He stayed behind the storm of helplessness and fear gripping him as he watched the car speed off. This isn't right, he thought, his mind racing. "Why do I have to deal with this?" His thoughts exploded. Who was that damn person? What did he want with Mom? Richard's fists clenched so tightly they throbbed with pain. His body shook with the seething rage. "If that bastard comes back, I swear." His breath caught in his throat, thoughts spiraling into a storm of fury and fear. "I don't know what I'm going to do." to him, but it would be painful. I would make him suffer. He had no answers, only questions. The future seemed bleak, but deep down, a resolve began to form. I need to do something, he muttered himself, his mind racing. I need to figure out more about this crystal and what's really going on. And when I do, I'll find that man. I'll make him pay. He paused, trying to steady his thoughts, but what Mom said, I need to stay focused, and I can't let myself get distracted. He said it though. He wasn't sure if it would be enough to calm the storm inside him. After calming down, Richard filled Anthony in on everything that happened between his mom and the shooter. Anthony shook his head, disbelief etched on his face. All that in one day, that's insane. This town's seriously messed up. Sure, there are thugs, criminals, drunks, but a guy with telekinesis? Where are these people even coming from? What did he look like? Richard let out a heavy sigh. I have no idea. It's all blurred, but that crystal, it reacted in a way that made me want to fight him. Like it knew something with these abilities. Maybe I can actually make a difference. This town could use someone to set things right. Anthony raised an eyebrow, his tone cautious. Just be careful tomorrow at school. People are gonna get suspicious if anything feels off. Yeah, I know, Richard replied, his voice calm but firm. That's why I'm keeping it under wraps. Richard stared out at the town, his thoughts drifting as he considered what was ahead. Okay, I'm now done with part 2 of chapter 1. I must say, that was pretty insane. Richard lost both his grandma and his mom. I feel bad for him. Master Slayer is going through a lot in this story. And I hope Anthony has Master Slayer's back in the story too. I know he's like my character, but yeah, I know he's like me, but in your story, but yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, I will give part 1 and 2 a 10 out of 10, and I will do part 3 when I upload this video. Peace.